Okay, everyone, welcome back to Down the Line. We got our second week of sports our second week of baseball. Second week of baseball. A lot of things happening. Before we start, just make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do whatever the hell you want to do YouTube wise. I don't know. Just give us a shout out, maybe tweet at us. I'm sure we'll respond. Give the page a nod. That's all we're asking, not too much.
Take a walk, get off the internet a little bit.
Well, Nick, that's kind of the opposite of what I'm saying.
After you watch our videos, I'm saying.
After you watch our videos, take a walk, get out of there, really process it, bring it in.
Exactly.
I just want to say that I tweeted out that Robbie Ray was looking like Randy Johnson, and then he immediately gave up a single to Odor and then a home run to Kyle Higashioka. So I just want to say I was going to not tweet it because I was worried something like that was going to happen. And then I tweeted it and it did happen. So my wins above replacement tweets right now is 0.01. That's a new stat I'm starting.
I love that. I had a tweet intentionally jinxing the no-hitter and it got immediately broken up. So I think you and I could take credit for that little 2-run inning
there. Wins above replacement tweets for Below the Belt Sports YouTube channel, 0.2.
Love that.
Lock it in. All right. So getting into everything that happened with baseball this week. The year of the pitcher is alive and well. Wearing my nice little pitching ninja shirt right here. We have our first no-hitter of the season, Joe Musgrove, 9 innings, complete game, 1 walk, I think it was, 10 strikeouts, just completely gross game. Used a lot of his slider. Really awesome to see, especially this early in the season. We don't get to see that many guys go that deep into the game. We saw Lance Lynn complete game shutout, DeGrom dominating as usual. Unfortunately not getting a win, but you guys still got to tip the cap to an amazing performance. Garrett Cole looking good. Corbin Burns living up to the hype down in the NL Central. So Nick, what are we thinking year of the pitcher? It looks good so far, right?
No, you're completely right so far. It's tough to tell whether it's, just April, but balls are not flying off the bats. I think the D-juice balls are having maybe even more of an effect than we thought. Obviously, you said DeGrom, he's just absolutely disgusting. He's a pleasure to watch pitch, and the Mets, as they've been doing his entire career, just blowing his starts. It's unbelievable a team could be under 500 in games started by that man, which is crazy. But how about Joe Musgrove, man? He's the story. A no-hitter. He looks gross. I know we were at the bar together. It was cool, everyone watching along as he did it. The Padres being the last MLB team to not have a no-hitter, getting it from a San Diego kid is really cool. And the fact that guy's their number 5 starter, it's just an absolute embarrassment of riches in the rotation for the Padres right now.
Nick, I actually forgot about that he's their number 5, which is just crazy that your 5 hitters throwing no-hitters. Imagine Devi Garcia comes out and throws a no-hitter. These Yankees basically claiming him as the Cy Young already.
It's disgusting. The fact that they can go Snell, Darvish, Lamet, Paddock, and Musgrove, and Mike Clevenger is out this year, and they have the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball, Mackenzie Gore, waiting in the wings. It's crazy. You can debate best rotations in baseball. I know we did this all in the preseason. The Padres have the deepest rotation in baseball. I know people were like Padres and Dodgers, and yeah, the Dodgers have depth too. The Padres are the deepest rotation in baseball. There's zero question about it.
Yeah, I agree. And something that I've noticed in terms of pitching, I'll get off the pitching just because I'm a sort of a geek about it. But the strikeout numbers are crazy. I know from the big guys, mostly is from what I've seen, because those are kind of the guys you really pay attention to a lot. But even someone like Glasnow typically gets a lot of strikeouts. He had like 13 strikeouts today, just a really high number. Giolito strikeouts numbers are really high. DeGrom had 14 the other night. Cole 10 plus. Bauer had 13. So the strikeout numbers we were expecting to see go up because the seams kind of being a little different, but having a better grip is happening. So I like to see those numbers. It kind of looks a little lopsided this year, but I like to see it.
If you had to guess, and obviously this isn't something you could quantify, I'm assuming people a lot smarter than you and I probably could, but if you were just going to guess, because that's what we're doing here, we're not actually fucking using math. We're just guessing.
I'm using this thing.
How much of this is the new ball and the whole thing that you've been playing up the year of the pitcher, and how much of it is, just being April and these guys don't have their timing down yet 10 games into the season? I imagine it's a mix of both, right?
Yeah, I would say it's a mix of both. What surprised me is that we're getting this high strikeout count when pitchers are typically pulled early. That's why it surprised me to see DeGrom get 14 because you saw it in his first start. He only went 77 pitches. Like, I'm shocked that he was able to go that long and have that many strikeouts. So I think that's kind of why I'm thinking it might be a little bit more of the baseball, because they're kind of compacting their strikeouts into less innings. But I'm sure it also has to do with the fact that a lot of hitters just haven't really started out crazy hot for the most part.
Right.
Right. All right. So I'll get off my pitching tangent. That's a song for another time. The real issue, and maybe this is our what the fuck Rob Manfred moment for this week, is MLB replay. Yeah, this is our MLB replay. This is just 2 fuck ups in 1 week, the second week of the season. Even if you want to argue for the Mets, it was the first week of the season. The Mets win on a Michael Conforto walk-off hit by pitch, in which he leaned into a pitch and kind of took one off like the elbow guard. If you even want to say it hit him. And then the Phillies win on Sunday Night Baseball. Great game, by the way. Phillies win on Sunday Night Baseball on Alec Bohm barely / not really touching home plate and getting, I guess, not tagged out, even though, we'll say what you will about it. But the Phillies win and the Mets win 2 games that, were kind of controversial and were decided on MLB replay. And Nick, what is your take on, we'll start with the Mets.
Yeah. So the Mets game I was watching live. That was absolutely crazy. And look, I'm not trying to sit here and, say, oh, Conforto, you can't do that. Like, bro, you can't cheat the game. Like, I saw some people like putting in the same sentence as the Astros. It's like, all right, slow your roll there. Like, people lean into pitches all the time. My thing is that he so blatantly leaned into a pitch right down the middle on a 3-2 count with the bases loaded. So my only thing is this: imagine it's called correctly, how much hate Michael Conforto would be getting for not team's number 3 hitter not swinging the bat in that situation. But listen, he got away with it. I think the what the fuck Rob Manfred is that we can't go back and review that, a play that ends the game that was clearly, if you took 2 seconds to look at it, you knew that he would have leaned into it and would have been called out. But we can look for 2.5 minutes on a guy stealing second and see if he came off the bag for a millisecond when he slid in. So that's the real what the fuck there. But yeah, the takeaway is this: the umpires misapplied the rule. They didn't call it correctly. And if you looked at the clip too, you could almost see the home plate ump like start to put his arm up. Like, it looked like he went to signal strike, but then he kind of pointed at Conforto. So, it is what it is. I said Mets fans shouldn't enjoy that win any less. People are going to get bailed out by the umps every once in a while. And they still would have had Alonso up there with the bases loaded and a chance to win the game anyway. But just horrible that they miscalled that and it can't be reviewed. It's just a horrible, horrible miscall.
So I'll talk about this from the baseball player perspective, because I think that that's important in this, because a lot of people like to talk about the integrity of the game and is it worth it leaning into a pitch for a win. I'll say if it's my guy doing that, 10 times out of 10, lean into it, get us a dub. I know that the SNY guys were a little like, oh, come on, like, that's bullshit. Like, that's not the way to
not having it.
They were not having it. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, if that was my team, I'd be like, Conforto's kind of being like, yeah, I know I probably shouldn't have done that, but we won. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you're right. People are going to forget about it in the long term. The Mets have had a lot worse losses, so they kind of deserve a bad win for what it's worth. But I will say, when I used to play D3 baseball, and this is the lowest level of college baseball, if you will.
Highest level of integrity.
Highest level of integrity. If you got hit by a pitch and you didn't move out of the way, like, you didn't get first base. So like, it's kind of like the fact that it's the opposite in the MLB is very surprising to me. They enforced that rule very heavily, to the point where we would see our own hitters get hit by pitches and almost like do like one of these and just try to eat it, but like still kind of move out of the way. And the umpire would be like, nope, you're staying in the box, you're still hitting. And the fact that, like, in the MLB, it's the complete opposite, where he's leaning into a pitch and he's getting first base and eventually the win. It just seems a little like, why is there this huge parity in baseball? Like, yes, it's Division III baseball and it's the MLB, but like, why and where is that difference happening? That seems very unusual to me. And I don't know where that started. But I don't like that at all, that there's like that huge difference between, the same game.
And I think the biggest thing for me is just the fact that it can't be reviewed. Like I say this all the time. I know you're on the same page. Replay is used too much in baseball. I just brought up the sliding past second base example earlier. I don't want to go to the monitor for every single thing, but I think there needs to be something where, you know how in the NFL or basketball plays in the last 2 minutes are like automatically reviewed. They need something like after the seventh inning, or especially the ninth inning when it's the play that legitimately ended the game, that says, all right, you know what, we're going to go to the monitor for this. Because if that play happens in the fifth inning and the Mets win by 1 run, are people talking about it a little bit? Maybe. But in the ninth inning, that's a spot where you gotta get the call right. Like you just have to. Like that happens in the third inning, I'll defer to the home plate umpire's discretion of whether or not he leaned into it, because we're not going to go to the monitor every single inning. But that being said, in the ninth inning, like that's got to be one where if the ump gets it wrong, you got to bail him out, because that would have been a 0.2 second replay.
Yeah, Nick, I actually really like that rule change. I think that's something that people don't consider, and especially in baseball, because it's almost like soccer. Like there's not that many runs scored in a game as there is in basketball and football. You know, there's not as many points, but like every run does matter. But let's be honest, the runs at the end of the game clearly matter the most.
Oh, of course.
So you have, and that's when it's most urgent to get the call right, because it isn't like basketball and football where like time runs out. Like you get another chance. In baseball, like you have to make the most of every opportunity. So getting one call right or wrong is huge. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that pretty much segues us into what happened on Sunday Night Baseball last night.
Took the word right out of my mouth. Yeah.
I want to hear your take on this, because for me, I was almost kind of dying on the hill that like they couldn't overturn it. I wasn't bashing them for this, and I still won't, to be honest with you. I still think the Conforto one is more problematic, considering you couldn't even review that one. For this one, there's no way you can expect the umpire on the field to get that call right or wrong. I think that's as bang as it gets to see whether or not he got his foot in there. I saw the replay like 20 or 30 times, and I was like, I don't think based off of this he touched the plate, but like there's a maybe, and I don't think you can overturn it considering the call on the field. Then I finally saw the John Boy breakdown this morning where he synced up like all 3 angles at once. And it's like, okay, like that's obvious. So if baseball, like if MLB was looking at that and couldn't get it right, then yeah, I agree. That's pretty terrible. But where are you at on this? Because I thought it was bad. I thought it was maybe closer than people gave it credit for. It really wasn't until I saw all 3 angles at once that I was like, okay, yeah, he definitely didn't touch the plate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's tough to get that call right on the field, and I don't think you're going to. You just kind of go with the instinct. Like Nick, remember you and I used to rec basketball. And it was like, hey, I'll say it. It's tough. It is tough trying to get a call right in the moment. And that was what, 12-year-olds playing rec basketball where they honestly it didn't matter. This is like the MLB, the final play of the game. It's tough to get the call right. But my biggest problem with it, and I think this is with MLB replay in general, is why can't the umpire rewatch his call? Like it goes to like a completely separate, like what is it called? It's like the
it's a caucus.
Yeah, it's the caucus, right? Yeah, I thought it's the same thing. Yeah. Like, why isn't he getting a chance to watch his call in the same way that the NBA and the NFL referees, and in this case umpires, can? Like, what? Like, why doesn't he get to like be like, okay, no, this is what I saw. This is why I made this call. Okay, let me see if I was right or wrong. Someone is making that call for him, and all he's doing is standing there on a mic listening to what they have to say. Like he can't even like give his input back the other way because he's just listening to them. That doesn't make any sense to me, why he can't put his input into the call one way or the other. So whatever you want to say about that call, I personally don't think he touched the base, but again, bang, bang. It is really tough to see. And what, you're going to make the argument that like the last like 1/45th of his cleat touched home plate or didn't touch home plate? I mean, come on. Like what are we doing here? Yeah, it's a game of inches. It is what it is. He made the call, but like, I think the problem on the field, I mean, the problem in general is that this guy can't really have a chance to review his play. Someone's doing that for him.
No, that's actually a good point. I never thought of it like that. I guess I was kind of assuming that they send it somewhere else, because like on a bang bang play, you don't really want, the umpire necessarily be blamed by the crowd. But at the same time, you're right. Nobody has a better perspective of how the play went down than the guy who made the call. So why not let him go to the monitor, see if he can confirm what he saw or not, give him ownership of the call. And then maybe we can kind of drop, John Boy even said this in his video, like, drop the initial bang call that the guy made and say like, oh, I don't want to overturn because XYZ, and just let the guy who's called is get the call right. So I actually love that. I don't see why they wouldn't just let whoever the umpire is in that situation watch the replay for a minute or two and then come to his own conclusion instead of sending it to someone in Secaucus who's probably half watching the game to begin.
And it's weird in this same situation. Like, let's say it's a situation where they're not going to replay. The umpires all get together and confirm and they say, what did you see? This is what I saw. This is what I saw. This is what I saw from my angle. What did you see as the person making the call? And that kind of got taken away a little bit with replay, but that's how they used to do it. And I thought to a degree that made sense. Yeah, it's awesome to have the replay. You get to look back on it and really see what happened. But like you should really be basing your opinion off what you saw on the field. And it just doesn't really make any sense to me why that guy has no input other than the original call he made on a bang play where, like I said, you're looking at the 145th of the guy's cleat. Did it touch home plate or did it not touch home plate? Like, why is that all on him? Like in that one split second, it just doesn't make any sense to me why he doesn't have the ability to watch himself and overturn it himself.
No, you're right. And what really sucks too is this was a great Sunday night game. Like it had everything, it was a division rivalry, Braves, Phillies. You had all the stars, hitting home runs. Harper hit a home run, Acuna, Freeman, like some of the biggest stars in the league going deep. And it was, wow, this is a tie game in the ninth, all this intrigue, a play at the plate. And now instead of that and talking about, what a great baseball game we just saw, it's talking about MLB's replay and how the Braves got robbed and whether this is a problem going forward. So it's just so classic baseball to not get out of their own way by stealing the storyline from what was, one of the better games early on in this young season. And now it's just become more of an issue than a positive. Yeah,
let's not also forget Ozuna could have made a much better throw. They like triple hop the catcher. This could have all been avoided if he just threw it anywhere near the catcher, but song for another time again.
Absolutely.
There should be a DH in the NL, and we wouldn't have to see Marcell Ozuna making throws in left field.
He should.
Whatever. Whatever. Moving on to other things that pissed us off this weekend. The New York Yankees. They lost 2-3 to the Tampa Bay. Barely winning that last game. Defense has looked really bad. Offense has looked shot. Bullpen has been literally our entire savior up to this point. I don't care what you want to say about that offensive explosion in the 10th inning. We're not anywhere in this season overall, except maybe for the one game where Giancarlo hit a grand slam. We're not anywhere in this season without our bullpen right now, and even the starting pitching for the most part. Nick, what are you thinking about the Yankees right now?
I'm okay.
Loaded question.
I would be a lot better in a lot darker of a place if they didn't pull out the win yesterday. Friday was rough. I had a tweet, Gio obviously scratched from the lineup because he had the vaccine side effects. So DJ makes an error at third on a play that I think Gio makes in his sleep. Then Tyler Wade had two. I don't know if they were errors or just balls he should have had. Then I think DJ, no problem, gets if he's playing at second. And then there was a double that was a little bit over Clint's head off Adamas's bat that I think Judge catches because Judge is, 6 inches taller than Clint. So that was just kind of unfortunate. They do just lose their brains a little bit in the trot. But you said the bullpen has been the story, They've really just been able to keep us in the game, even though we haven't gotten length from any starters really besides Cole. Monty got it out 5 yesterday. But between Loaizaga, O'Day, Green, Chapman, Wilson had a scoreless inning. These guys have all been absolutely locked down so far. The only thing is they do need to start getting some length from the starters just because you can't keep taxing the bullpen like this. But I said coming into the year, the Yankee bullpen was going to be better and deeper than it was last year, just because with the 60-game season, they didn't really have any time to kind of groom guys and get them ready for the playoffs. So now they're going to have a full 162. I think we see the guys like Loaizaga and King be able to step up come October this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's super easy to overreact and also underreact to what you see early in the season. You definitely we overreact a little bit to certain things, Stanton might be the best hitter of all time. A few games later, he's not hitting his best. I think we kind of underreacted to how good Montgomery can be. He didn't have his best start, but I do think that he really looks a lot better this season, without control, and he still gave us 5 and, 4 earned runs, but, the Rays lineup always seems to hurt us. So I do think that that's really been good, but the most important thing to look at when we're really looking at the beginning of the season and what can frustrate you and what can't, is trends. And trends that we've noticed is Gleyber's bad defense, and not being able to hit with runners in scoring position and just having worthless at bats. And I think that that is like something that came into the season and is continuing. And I really, really want to see change. Like, I know people were freaking out about Gleyber's defense this week, and I think that that's not an overreaction to, the beginning of the season, him making one error. This has been a problem. And Nick, you and I were both, I mean, I think me a little bit more, but like, we're both being like, hey, let's give Gleyber his chance. Let's give him his due. Let's let him try to figure this out. But like, he's looked bad this year, and that's carrying over like a season and a half now. So I'm most nervous about that moving forward. This Yankees defense not being able to back up this really, really good pitching staff that has come together. And even like the bad performance like Herman, you can kind of cancel him out and put in Garcia. Maybe one day, I don't want to do this, but maybe one day Loaizaga moves back to the starting rotation. He's pitched so well. So like, you have other options like that kind of, whatever he is, the third or fifth starter, whatever you want to call him. That can kind of be replaceable because the Yankees have so much pitching depth. But the biggest problem is this defense, and I think they got to figure it out. And I for one, did like the Odor move a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. For Gleyber, I wanted him to get a full season at short. I thought in 2019, he was there for 2 months while Didi was out, and it wasn't an issue. Like, he made the basic plays. Like, I know, I'm sure you could probably throw the numbers and the defensive metrics at it that he's saying he doesn't have all the greatest range. I don't need Andrelton Simmons out there as much as it would be nice. When you have DJ at second, Gio at third, just make the basic plays. And I think that's what scared me so much with the Baltimore game is a ground ball right at him with the catcher running in 2 outs. That's a play you got to make. So I think he's in his head. He has the arm to do it. He has the physical tools. The kid's been a shortstop his whole life. I think I definitely overreacted a little bit after the Baltimore game. He has looked a little bit better in the couple games since, but it is going to be an issue the Yankees need to monitor and maybe add someone at the trade deadline. And that was really one of my, biggest gripes with Cashman. One thing that you and I kind of both repeated was that if they took this payroll from 210 to 230 million, they didn't need to go out and get a Bauer or someone, but they could have gotten a serviceable backup shortstop, someone who could play every couple days or come in late for Gleyber for defense. And that's something they really didn't have. Obviously Tyler Wade's not even on the team anymore. So now we're going to see Gio Urshela probably play shortstop sometimes, but it just isn't ideal. So it's definitely a concern. It's something we're going to have to keep our eye on. As far as the runners in scoring position, I really think they'll be fine. This Yankees lineup is going to score runs. I know we've seen them get beaten by superior pitching before, but I think I might have said this last week. We've also seen them go and beat up on Shane Bieber and Blake Snell in the playoffs. So this lineup can and will hit. I'm not worried about it. I do like Odor being in there for Jay Bruce just because Jay Bruce is fucking terrible. DJ at first base is an upgrade. Defensively, Odor is obviously a downgrade from DJ at second, but it is what it is for on a temporary basis till Voit gets back. But the worry is definitely Gleyber's defense. And then if I had to have a second worry, I would just say innings on, from starters and taxing the bullpen, just because as much as I've liked what I've seen from Montgomery, I think Kluber is iffy, but he'll be all right. I like Tyone, but, he's coming off a second Tommy John. I don't know necessarily where the length is coming from. So we're going to start to need it out of all these other guys.
Yeah. And Nick, you talk about like, I agree with everything. I think the Yankees offense is going to, come alive at some point. The fact that Urshela and Sanchez have kind of been like the Yankees heroes offensively is a little scary to me. I would like to see Judge and Stanton eventually step up. Gleyber kind of had a nice hit. But I would like to, see the guys that like we kind of are putting like the team on, at some point kind of step up a little bit, in a clutch situation. But, again, April, I'm not going to try to overreact about that. I am scared defensively for this team, though, because that is the easiest way to destroy good pitching. And especially when you're worried about where the inning's coming from, that is how you extend an inning. And that is how you tax guys that don't really have that ability to go long innings, especially when they're coming off injuries. Like, I mean, we saw it with Kluber, an error, and all of a sudden it turns into a bad inning. And that's not a guy that you are really relying on right now to go 100 pitches. You want him to kind of seamlessly transition into pitching again and finding his groove. And you can't do that when you're making errors behind him. I mean, I know it as a pitcher, it is the worst thing ever when you feel like you made a good pitch and the guy behind you makes an error. Yeah, you're supposed to pick at your teammates, but it's like, all right, now I really got to reset and like work on finding the zone again. And now you're thinking too much. Now you're in your head. Now it's over. Like, it is so hard to come back from that. Like, yes, it happens, and they're professionals, are supposed to be able to do that, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. And having to maybe put Gio at short and, whoever at third, if whether it's shifting Gleyber over to second, whatever it winds up being, it just makes another hole at third base. And now you're ruining the whole left side of the infield. And I don't know. Do you remember when the Yankees got Denny Hechavarria?
I was just gonna say, I think we easily see some sort of acquisition like that, because I think Rougned Odor, as much as I like him right now, and who fucking knows, we're talking about April, the guy might not be on the team in a month, as great as he's been in the 2 games we've seen him. I don't know where he really fits on a playoff roster. Like when you're talking Yankees in the playoffs, like you're not pinch hitting for anybody in that lineup. So, you have Brett Gardner and Mike Tauchman as guys you can go to as glove guys in the outfield. Who's that guy in the infield? It's really not Tyler Wade, as much as people want to make it seem like he is. So I think a Hechavarria kind of guy would be awesome, where you could lock down your infield and have Gio, DJ, and then whoever the defensive replacement is at shortstop. So I'd be almost shocked if that kind of move doesn't happen at some point. One thing that did encourage me, though, obviously Aaron Hicks not playing tonight because of the the tragic events in Minnesota hit him a little bit harder, but the fact that he was going to get dropped to 6th in the lineup, that was something I didn't see coming for a while. But he's been, and maybe he was only going to be for a game since it was a lefty pitching, instead of a righty, whatever. But still, the fact that they're open to moving around the lineup, because I think, you said Aaron Judge hasn't gotten going yet, and that's absolutely true. Aaron Judge is getting no pitches to hit. Like I'll say it again. My friend Nick said it. Putting Hicks in between Judge and Stanton is like giving the pitcher a chaser in between 2 shots of vodka. Like, and I get that Stanton hasn't been going yet, but he's still a guy that you don't want to make a mistake pitch to. Aaron Hicks, he's just been bouncing into the softest double plays. So I'm glad that they're showing more willingness to change up the lineup, and then hopefully, knock on wood, if these guys can stay healthy and you get Luke Voigt's bat back in there in the middle of the order for Odor or Bruce, and that'll just help them out even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of transitioning over to teams that have been successful. I know we're upset about the Yankees, but the Red Sox, 6 in a row. JD Martinez is back in form. He looks like one of the best hitters in baseball. I mean, obviously it's still early, but I mean, he looks like really good. He's hitting the ball all sides of the field. Shout out HVT if he's watching this. The Red Sox do look good. I don't want to say that they're contenders yet, because I think their offense has been a little too good to be true. I think JD Martinez has an extra base hit in every game. Guess what? That's not happening for 162 games. But their offense is legit, and their pitching has held up good enough. Granted, it was against the Orioles a lot of these games, but they also beat the Rays. Something I guess the Yankees can't do. So, tip of the cap, the AL East does look pretty competitive this year. I think as people expected.
Yeah, obviously you got to take HVT's words about the Red Sox with a grain of salt. I mean, this guy was telling me last year before the season they were going to be competitive, and we know how that turned out. But that being said, I've been completely in agreement with him that the Red Sox would be better this year. Like, this lineup is too good not to hit when you're talking about JD, Devers, Bogarts, Verdugo, Vasquez. They have enough guys in there that they're going to hit. And it really is a different pitching staff. They've gotten some guys back who were hurt last year, and they made some moves. So I knew that they weren't going to be pathetic. Do I think that they're going to be challenging for the division? Not just yet. I'm going to pump the brakes on that a little bit. But no, I think a lot of people slept on the Red Sox and thought they'd be pathetic, and I really don't think that's the case, and they've shown that so far.
Yeah, offense looks really, really good. I'm a big fan of JD Martinez. I know he's on.
No fucking way.
No, Higashioka again.
Let's fucking go.
We're watching this. We're watching the Yankees live, and Higashioka just hit his 2nd home run of the game.
Oh my God. I love this. I'm pretty sure it was on his Instagram. My picture that I tweet out for Higgy, I think it was on his Instagram. It's like him lifting a bunch of weight. Like, look at that.
Oh my God. I mean, do we have the best catching duo in baseball right now? Do we have the best 2 catchers in baseball right now? I think that's, how do you say no?
I no joke think that, right?
All right. That was awesome. Higashioka's the man. Also, people who are good, the Dodgers, 8-2 to start the season. Kershaw looks good. Their whole rotation looks good, surprisingly. Kenley Jansen looks like an all-star closer again. Dodgers kind of like their regular season feels so much more stress-free than the Yankees. And I feel like they always end up in around the same spot in terms of record. But like, is it just like the West Coast is just more stress-free than the East Coast? Or do the Dodgers have the easiest regular season of all time? Like every single year, I feel like whenever I see a Dodgers highlight, it's like, oh, nice 4-1 win, a nice 8-4 win. Like it just looks so easy to them.
I think it's a combination of things. I think their entire division outside of them and the Padres is fucking pathetic and is going to be terrible. So I think it's going to be pretty much a cakewalk, whereas the entire AL East, no one's really a pushover. I think even the Orioles have a little bit of fight in them nowadays. And then I don't know. I've always had the take, and I don't know how true it is. I've never been there. I say LA is not a sports city. I just think there's so much other shit going on there that no one really cares about sports. Like people kind of half care about the Lakers, but that's because it's like who's sitting courtside at the Laker game. Not that anyone actually cares. Whereas if you're in a New York or a Boston, every single like sports are literally life, and everything is just so uber scrutinized, and people are talking about whether or not the Yankees are going to make the playoffs like 6 games into the season. So I think maybe that's part of it. But no, I mean, this Dodgers team is really fucking good. They're not going to play a ton of competition within their division. And, I think they know their entire regular season is house money coming off a World Series championship, and really, winning 100 games or 108 games, 110 games is not going to prove anything for them. They need to go out and, win another championship and prove, hey, 2020 wasn't a fluke.
Yeah. It just annoys me how stress-free those Dodgers fans, all like 13 of them, get to live. Dodgers Twitter is always just like peace and happiness, I'm sure.
I would think so. I don't know. Then again, to be fair,
it's not fun.
They've had their struggles. I mean, if you look at 2027
in the playoffs, yeah, I'm talking regular season.
Other seasons ended. Yeah, this might be a little bit of recency bias, but yeah, fuck it.
All right. I don't follow many Dodgers Twitter, so if it is stressful, I'm sorry. You can always talk to me. I'm sorry.
Let us know. Yeah, DMs are open.
Let us know. Yeah. All right. Moving on to the final segment. We got our not safe for work. I'm talking Byron Buxton stat line. I ripped on him in the beginning of the season because I thought he was a huge bust. I didn't think he was going to be any good. I thought he was just someone who was fast and got hurt like Ken Griffey Jr. did, but he just had the stat line to prove it. And he has. Maybe he listens to Below the Belt Sports YouTube channel. Maybe he doesn't. Who's here to say one way or the other? But clearly my words got to him because he has started the season. He's got a .481 batting average, 5 home runs already, 9 walks, only 1 stolen base. So I mean, I don't know. You want to have a 40-40 season to prove me wrong, Byron Buxton. I mean, kind of pick it up a little bit. But he's got 4 doubles, 13 hits already in 27 at bats. I mean, 7 runs scored, just looks really, really good. And he's, still a defensive wizard, still one of the fastest players in baseball. So I know my not safe for work is Byron Buxton's stat line because that is gross.
Yeah, I always kind of thought like you that he was just one of those like, oh, this is his year guys that never really put it together. I don't remember if it was 2019 or 2020 where he started to come around. Maybe it was 2019. But he kind of got hidden in that my brain is mush in that Twins lineup just because it was like, who cares if he's even hitting, just because that entire team was so good and he's such a wizard defensively in center field. But if he could put it together, that's a guy with a crazy unique skill set, and center field not necessarily the deepest position in baseball, so I think he's going to make a name for himself pretty quickly.
Yeah, good. So good for him, and taking my words to heart. I'll keep ripping on him just to make sure he doesn't get too comfortable. Complacency is key.
Dude, he watches the show. Don't rip on him too hard.
Yeah, shout out Byron Buxton.
That's our boy.
Yeah. Nick, do you have your not safe for work?
So mine, when you talk about not safe for work plays and kind of how we introed it, you're thinking of, a gross pitch combo that you would see on Pitching Ninja. I did Ohtani's home run last week that just sounded like it was nuked off the bat. Maybe I'm sure we'll see diving plays on here, something like that. I'm going with something a little more out of the box, and it's not something that maybe comes to your mind at first when you think of awesome baseball plays, but Ronald Acuna Jr. starting off the game yesterday with that infield single was absolutely unbelievable. I physically don't know, like watching the game in real time, and I thought he was going to be out by feet, and to see him beat that out just made absolutely no sense to me. It was a relatively hard hit ball to a good
108 off
defensive
the bat.
shortstop in Didi, who charged it, made a good play and a clean throw, and Acuna beats that out. Like, that just makes absolutely no fucking sense to me. Throw in the fact that he hits a bomb to dead center later on in the game. His entire skill set just makes absolutely no sense to me. And so him as a player, but especially with that infield single, is just not safe for work.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to him. And maybe that's what Byron Buxton can aim for. If you're listening to this, Byron, is being that Ronald Acuna type. But I mean, sorry, Mike Trout, I do think Ronald Acuna has the best skill set in baseball, because I think he is 5-tool and every tool is 5 stars. Like, it is just ridiculous. Everything that he can do, everything that he's capable of. I mean, I think I remember listening to the broadcast. I think the league average down to first base is like 4.5 seconds, or it was like 4.44 or something like that. And he got down there in 4.1 seconds. I mean, you're talking about, like, at that point, tenths of seconds. But like, when you talk about like the NFL combine, like 40-yard dashes, that's like a lot. And that's pretty significant for a guy who's also mashing home runs, and, is just capable of pretty much doing everything. So Ronald Acuna is just gross and not safe for work. Do not watch highlights of Ronald Acuna Jr. at work.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's probably blocked, I would think. If you're on like the company Wi-Fi, they're not letting you watch Acuna highlights.
Like, hey.
Like, no. Get called into HR's office, like,
you're fired.
Were you watching Acuna highlights again? Like, no. You're fucking fired.
You're fired. We know. All right, yeah. All right, that's this week's show. Maybe next week our not safe for work will be Kyle Gashioka, 2 home runs in 1 game against the Blue Jays. That's our live not safe for work. Nick, anything else?
I teased listener questions, like Twitter questions last week, and just did not do it. So I'm gonna try and remember this week for next week.
Yeah. So head on a swivel for that one, guys.
So if you're watching this, tweet at us now, and then a week from now, we'll maybe answer your question.
We'll see. Byron Buxton, if you have a question, hit me up. I got a bunch of tips that I could give you on how to play better baseball.
Yeah, we got a entire fountain of knowledge just waiting for people to drink from. So Byron wants in, I'm more than happy to oblige.
All right, Byron Buxton, hit us up. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, have a good week, guys.